Morning Watch is brought to you by the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Mother's Day competition to Mom with Love for a chance to win one of these prizes. All you need to do is spend $6,500 or more in stores island-wide. Competition ends today, May 7, and the grand draw is tomorrow on May 8th. So, get cracking.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Bashco. Be everything what you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Yeah, Bashco. Furniture for your house, and everything for your kitchen, rocks, hubs, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco. Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We are the right to republic. Well then, let's propel the nation moving forward in a new direction. True independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want the country that's for us. So make we just pull together as the general public. While on the road to republic, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We are the road to republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. We are the road to republic.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the main watch. To who, WHO, will we bow? And in the second watch, where is a parent in the PTA? For our social media question, we ask, how satisfied are you with the PTA at your child's school? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on the program, but first, here's our quote.
All right, today's I quote has multiple credits and it says, wrong is wrong, even if everyone is doing it. Right is right, even if no one is doing it.
Full stop, Jukal.
And that's it.
Full stop. The main watch will be back after this break.
Traditionally, when we speak of someone falling from grace, we are referring to an individual who has lost respect, status, or support due to action on their part. But what does it mean when referring to Christendom? What do you understand by the phrase fall from grace? Tuesday, May 7, on The Rock, join guests Pastor Dane Wilson and Reverend Albert Martin as they discuss the topic Fall from Grace. That's The Rock, Tuesday, May 7 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
If you're a farmer or a fisher folk, this one's for you. Sagicor AgriCare Plan. With AgriCare Plan, you can get affordable insurance coverage for you and your family. Life insurance, health insurance, and the critical illness coverage for as little as $675 every 3 months. Visit your nearest RADA or fisheries office or call 876-936-7785 to apply. Farmers and fisher folks, get the insurance coverage your family deserves today with Sagicor AgriCare Plan. Conditions apply.
This Mother's Day, Flow is celebrating all the moments that make life better. Get a Samsung A05 for $8,125 or a Samsung A05s for only $9,000. Both come with a free 28-day unlimited social talk and text plan, so you and mom can keep sharing those precious moments. Whether she's talking to loved ones, texting words of encouragement, or video calling her favorite child, with Flow, you'll always stay connected. Visit a Flow store today. Offer available while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Habasco. Be everything where you need. Quality service guaranteed on Habasco. Get it on Habasco. Yeah, Habasco. Furniture for your house, everything for your kitchen, box, and more at Habasco. The store that gives you more. Habasco.
I've been hearing about this constitutional reform thing. You know anything about it?
Yes, constitutional reform is a chance for us to Jamaicanize the constitution.
But how?
Enough things changed since 1962 and we've matured as a nation. So modernizing the constitution will reflect our current societal values.
Oh, a constitution for Jamaicans, approved by Jamaicans.
Are you ready for the journey? Join us on the road to Republic. Think independence, think Republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch now. The issue of the World Health Organization, WHO's pandemic treaty or amendments to the international health regulations, as the case may be, is expected to be adopted by the 194 UN member states, and it appears to include Jamaica on the 27th of May this year, 2024, this year of our Lord, during the World Health Assembly, and it is again raising red flags. It is again meaning the whole matter of whether it is the pandemic treaty or amendments to the international health regulations or both. We wait to get clarity on that. Now, there are some unanswered questions and concerns stemming as far back as from 2022. Is the Jamaican government silent on the matter? Well, let us see. We have as our guests this morning to look at this and to consider what is taking place, President of one of Jamaica's political parties, the United Independence Conference, my humble apologies, Congress, Mr. Joseph Patterson. And we also have chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, Dr. Wayne West. Good morning, President, or founder, I should say, Patterson. Founder Patterson, as well as Chair Dr. West. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both?
Good morning, Mr. Marshall. Good morning, Mr. West. And yes, I'm the president as well as the founder.
Mr. Patterson, your microphone is you're coming across as being garbled.
Oh, is this?
And we are having a challenge hearing you. I don't know if it is our end or your end, but whatever you think you can do on your end so that we can hear you better, it would be greatly appreciated while we see what we can do on our end. Can you make an attempt again, Mr. Patterson?
Sure. Is this any better?
A lot better. There is a little bit of an echo, but at least we're hearing you much better now. Dr. West?
Good morning. Good morning.
Great, gentlemen.
Good morning to both you and Mr. Patterson.
Good morning.
And of course, our listeners will want to hear what both of you have to say. Now, what, if anything, understand the pandemic treaty to mean, and or the amendments to the international health regulations? Would you like to start, Mr. Patterson?
Sure. I mean, first of all, that the need for collaboration with the rest of the world on dealing with pandemics or anything of an international nature like that is necessary. The challenge we have as a people here in Jamaica is that our governments and oppositions tend not to be able to think for themselves and to act on behalf of the Jamaican people. but mostly to be a rubber stamp and to cut and paste and kind of do whatever they're told by the global elite. So that's really where our concern is. And having a pandemic treaty where the people of Jamaica are not consulted and not engaged in the process to know what this really means, and allowing for all kinds of speculation as opposed to just having the kind of communication and consultation to give the people confidence that our government is working on our behalf, that is seriously lacking. And that is really where, my concern lies, a failure on the government's part to engage Jamaican people and a history of our government failing to stand up for us and allowing others to direct the agenda of Jamaica.
Dr. West, any comments from you? And would you like to weigh in or indicate anything about the May 27th date, which we are hearing about?
Yes, well, the problem of a pandemic is a serious thing. And I agree with Mr. Patterson. We really need to have collaboration across the world to deal with the issue. The question is WHO, who will be playing the major role in both the international health regulations and the World Health, the WHO pandemic treaty, has it shown itself to be up to the task of dealing with the issues? We just need to look at what happened in COVID-19. In COVID-19, the WHO and the many governments obviously collaborated to develop an approach in which only the narrative, which was developed by the quote-unquote, by science, which wasn't really developed by science at all, was allowed to be heard and implemented. For example, there was no attempt was ever made to use therapeutic intervention, in other words, medicines to treat COVID. Any attempt to do so was poo-pooed and referred to as being, poor science. The only recommendation coming out of WHO and the government, think about the government of Jamaica, the only recommendation they had was that when you were sick, you wait until you basically became so ill, you went to hospital. They never suggested any therapeutics, in fact, things like ivermectin, which was suggested, were immediately rejected. But when you look at the outcomes of the COVID-19 pandemic, we find that countries that were less vaccinated had fewer deaths. For example, I can give you some figures. Nigeria, when its vaccination rate was 28%, it had 14 deaths per million population. This is as opposed to the United States, which was 69% vaccinated. This was sometime in 2022. And they had 3,099 deaths per million. So the narrative that you needed to get this vaccine in order to achieve the best result is not at all justified by the data. Trinidad and Tobago had a vaccination rate of 47%. Jamaica's one was 26%. Whereas Trinidad and Jamaica had 1,066 deaths per million, whilst Trinidad and Tobago had 2,880 deaths per million. So there was an official narrative which was only allowed to be aired. Anything else was rejected and suppressed by both the mainstream media and the government. Yet still, when you look at the outcomes, you find that that official narrative somehow or the other did not match up. I just want to make one other point. It was stated, for example, that you must have lockdowns. But Sweden did not have lockdowns the way we had lockdowns. In fact, Sweden did not close its schools, its kindergarten. And when you look at the deaths per million in Sweden, they are less than other comparable countries. So the problem we have with the WHO treaty and the international health regulations is that they are concentrating power in the hands of the WHO. But the WHO hasn't shown itself to be effective at managing the COVID-19 pandemic. Gentlemen, so the question is, why should we concentrate power in the hands of an organization that has not shown itself to be competent?
Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Aculab Diagnostics Limited, located at ATL Plaza in Montego Bay, for all your blood testing needs. Open every day, including Sundays, 6132714.
The time by Aculab Diagnostics Limited is
7:15 a.m.
Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We are the right to republic. Till then, let's propel we nation moving forward in a new direction. Show independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want the country prosperous. So make we just pull together as the general public. While on the road to republic, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We are the road to republic.
A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We are the road to republic. After you double up the savings, these are the books that are in a waiting. The rewards the dreams have been chasing. Double up the savings, double up.
Save so you can win in the Jan Bank double of your savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply.
Double up the savings.
Check our website and social media for details. Jan Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic is, to who, World Health Organization, will we bow? And our guests in this main watch are the President of the United Independence Congress, Joseph Patterson. He's also the founder of that political party, and the chair of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, Dr. Wayne West. Just before the break, Dr. West, you were speaking about, I believe it was Sweden, and their experience in the recent COVID restriction period, sir?
Yes, I was saying that, the general policy arrangement or coming out of WHO and other countries was that you need to lock down, the way we locked down in Jamaica. But Sweden didn't do that, and they had better results than countries that did. So the problem, what we are saying is that the way the COVID-19 pandemic was handled was very authoritarian, and WHO results are not better than other people who didn't follow WHO.
Dr. West, if I might ask a question, just for clarity. When you say Sweden had better results, what exactly do you mean?
The deaths per unit of population was less than countries that did lockdowns.
Oh, I see. And Dr. West, any comments in relation to the May 27th date? And is it that there is sometimes you hear about the adoption of a pandemic treaty, and then sometimes you hear about amendments to the international health regulations, otherwise known as the IHR. Which is it?
It's both. Oh. It's both. The international health regulations, the legally binding document arrangement, which has been in existence, I think, since about 1969 and was reviewed in 2005. There are recommended revision based on the experience of the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, those recommendations are concerning because Article 3 of the international health regulations was previously based on the principle, and let me just read for you, the implementation of these regulations shall be with full respect for the dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedom of persons. They wish to change that to remove the concept of with full respect for the dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms of persons, and change it to shall be based on the principles of equity, inclusivity, coherence, and in accordance with their common but differentiated responsibilities of the state parties, taking into consideration their social and economic development. Now, those are words. What we know that the people who wish to make changes to the international health regulation, they want to remove our freedoms and our dignity and human rights. Much of what happened under the pandemic, when they were forced to take vaccines, etc., and human rights were abused, and courts are now ruling against some of those things. So what we're saying is that both the international health regulation and the WHO pandemic treaty are being discussed. What will come out of them depends on what the people who are negotiating decide.
Two things.
But definitely there is an attitude of authoritarianism in the approach to managing these issues.
Dr. West, you mentioned people were forced to take vaccines. What do you mean by forced to take
the vaccine mandates? Vaccine mandates, yeah, absolutely. There are persons who you couldn't, I just up to recently, I saw an item coming out of a bank in Trinidad who demanded that before you can come to an interview, you must be vaccinated.
An interview for a job?
Yeah, an interview for a job.
I understand. Anything on the May 27th date before we go back to Mr. Patterson? Anything on the May 27th date?
Well, we are hoping that this authoritarian approach to managing the pandemic and this suppression of information, that attitude, would be resisted, and we will come up with something that, if WHO is spreading information that is not useful, but other people have information that is useful, like Nigeria, which is lower deaths per million, that they would be discussed in the mainstream media. There was a policy during the COVID pandemic that the only thing that was considered worthy for discussion in the mainstream media is vaccination. No other approach.
Mr. Patterson, the May 27th meeting or forum, as the case may be, in relation to the World Health Assembly. Any comments on that? What is expected to be done on that day? And do you have any concerns in relation to Jamaica and the Jamaica position?
Sure. Well, we know what's going to happen on May 27th in terms of the protocols that are going to be followed.
What exactly is to happen on May 27th, if I may quickly interject?
Sure. Well, basically, they're going to go through their process of coming to what they consider a consensus on what they're trying to do. But I think for the Jamaican people, our real concern is the fact that we cannot trust our government, we cannot trust the World Health Organization, we cannot trust the international health regulations that they're going to put forward. And I think the case has been made clearly that based on the track record, based on all the evidence so far presented, that Jamaica's best option is to leave the WHO. Because the WHO, in its efforts so far to save us from pandemics, have only caused us more harm. And so Jamaica needs to say, like others, that listen, as long as this body is not going to respect our rights and freedoms as individuals, and our collective sovereignty as a nation, we cannot be party to that kind of thing. But I don't expect that to happen, of course. I'm only saying that. Jamaica does not have a government that is committed to protecting the individual sovereignty of our citizens, nor to protect the collective sovereignty of our country. And Mr. West pointed them out nicely. First, you realize they're not interested in protecting freedom of speech. They're not committed to protecting freedom of movement and freedom of association, and they're not committed to protecting freedom of choice. Now, in September 2021, on the 22nd of September, that's why the UIC went out and had that march on Parliament, for which I was arrested. And, Mr. West nicely pointed out the point that 22% of Jamaicans were subjected to this injection. And by the way, the UIC has never been opposed to vaccines. What we're opposed to is your right being removed for you to make a personal choice whether or not you want to take this kind of thing. But on September 22nd, 2021, we made it very clear to the government and the people that we're willing to stand up for the rights of Jamaicans. And the good thing is, the Jamaican people responded and resisted the attempts of the government to coerce them, or to force them, or to con them, or trick them, or bribe them into taking something they don't want to take. And so today now, I believe the Jamaican people, through our various groups, whatever you are, whether you're a political party or a non-profit or any form of civil society groups, we have to join our voices together and make it very clear that regardless of what decision is taken by those who are meeting concerning the pandemic treaty, let us stand up to the world and to the government of Jamaica and make it clear that we, the people of Jamaica, will not be subjected to any rules or regulations that denies us our collective sovereignty or our individual sovereignty.
Well, it is indicated that the pandemic treaty is expected to be adopted by the 194 UN member states including Jamaica, on May 27th this year, 2024. And some may say, well, what is the issue with that? Why are we making heavy weather of it? In fact, some persons might say, well, nothing is wrong with multilateralism, or whichever word you wish to use. So, Mr. Patterson, some other persons, on the other hand, on the flip side, will make the argument that, in a manner of speaking, any country which is party to this treaty would be, as it were, divesting itself of its sovereignty. But I think the WHO has indicated that that is not so. So what are some of the sovereignty issues you may have vis-a-vis some of the other issues you may have, Mr. Patterson, if any?
Sure. I mean, the key thing is, Mr. Marshall, is that even without a legally binding treaty, as you know, some people are talking about whether it's legally binding or not. You saw that the government of Jamaica followed verbatim whatever was told to it by this body. So our government, we know, have a tremendous appreciation and confidence in the WHO. So I'm not worried about the WHO. I'm worried about our government. Our government doesn't seem to have the ability to stand up and say, here is our position and here is why. We just heard, for example, the goodly Mr. West articulated all of the reasons why we should not have confidence.
Dr. West,
sorry. But what you don't hear from our government is any concerns. They have not come back to the Jamaican people and said, we are sorry for imposing on you what we did during COVID, for locking down the nation, for depriving our children of education, for forcing people to take this injection indirectly, using employers to force Jamaicans into this, costing people their jobs and severe amount of stress. And they have not apologized, nor have they committed to having a commission of inquiry to review what has happened. Instead, they have just moved on. So we know we can't trust them. So my contention is not with the WHO. They're doing what they're doing. We know how they're funded. We know how they're controlled. We can see clearly what their agenda is. But what is the agenda of our government? What is the agenda of the opposition party in our government? What are they putting forward to Jamaican people? What are they putting forward to the world? Jamaica used to be a nation where you have some statesmen who can stand up on the world stage and explain and advocate and articulate on issues of international import as well as local importance, and be able to get the people of Jamaica behind them to say why we need to stand up for certain things and stand against certain things. We don't have that in Jamaica. So the UIC's position is this: we have to stand up against our own government and let them know that we're not going to be party to whatever treaty they may sign. So they may go ahead and sign a treaty to give away our sovereignty to unelected people, persons who are unaccountable, and who they're then going to follow and say they're just following what is commonly accepted by 194 countries. But I think at the beginning of your program, Mr. Marshall, you made a very lovely quotation that if something is wrong and everybody is doing it, that doesn't make it right. I'm just paraphrasing here. And so even if they manage to get 194 countries, including the government of Jamaica, to sign on, and that we, the people of Jamaica, must say to that government and must say to that opposition that we, the people, have signed on to it and will not be subjected to it.
Understood, Mr. Patterson. I'm not sure if the way of entering into this treaty or arrangement would be by signature, or if it would be by some other means. There are various ways of entering into a treaty. Dr. West, can you shed any light on that? Or any final word you want to leave with us?
I think you have to sign a treaty. But let me just repeat that the international health regulation is already binding. So if there are changes which give authority to the Director General, as there are in the changes that are suggested for the international health regulations, it will be binding on us and we will lose our sovereignty. And the language is such that there is less discussion and more imposition, and that is a fact.
We are.
Let me just say, we have found WHO to be lacking, to be wanted.
Dr.
and
West.
we should not hand over our sovereignty
West
to them.
and Mr. Patterson. Were you quite through, Dr. West?
I was saying that we have found WHO recommendations to be wanting. So we should not hand over sovereignty to them and develop authoritarian strategies to manage a pandemic.
Have to leave it there. Dr. West and Mr. Patterson, thank you for your time and for your thoughts. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Get 1,000 bonus rewards points when you use your JN Bank Visa credit card during the month of May. Conditions apply. The term by JN Bank is...
Juicy patty, them I me prefer. Not tell no lie. When me eat it, me feel like me want fly. From me and the youth, I eat me a bite. Juicy patty, yes, nothing else me a try. Love me beef and me love veggie patty. And the one with them got plant-based. Shrimp patty, chicken patty, me keep on. Say one more them nice juicy patty for me, please. Juicy patty that we love. Juicy patty that I really give them love. Juicy patty that we love. Juicy patty said any location I can ride.
I've been hearing about this constitutional reform thing. You know anything about it?
Yes, constitutional reform is a chance for us to Jamaicanize the constitution.
But how?
Enough things changed since 1962, and we've matured as a nation. So modernizing the constitution will reflect our current societal values.
Oh, a constitution for Jamaicans, approved by Jamaicans.
Are you ready for the journey? Join us on the road to Republic. Think independence, think Republic. A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
Show mom some love with Bashco this Mother's Day. Spend 6,500 Jamaican dollars or more in Bashco for a chance to be the lucky winner of a weekend getaway for two by Ocean Squirrel Spring, or a Jen Care gift certificate, or an Hamilton Beach air fryer, plus a Bashco branded basket of goodies. Hurry! Competition ends May 7th. Visit your nearest Bashco location now. Simply fill out your entry form after purchase. Drop it in the box provided at all Bashco locations. Grand draw will be May 9th at Bashco South, 36 Great George Street, Savannah Lamar at 2:30 p.m. You could be a lucky winner at Bashco. Follow all our socials at Bashco Jamaica for more information. Bashco, where every day is a savings day. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have a couple of stories in the online version of the Jamaica Observer. We have another fire at Ray Market. We also have man accused of killing homeless people to face committal hearing. In addition, we have Westmoreland MP wants animal pound established in the parish. We turn now to the Gleaner Online. Defense Counsel claim prosecutorial misconduct in Petrojam fraud case. And we have a number of other stories as well. In the Gleaner, we have Indians awaiting flight clearance to depart Jamaica. I think that story might have been a little bit further updated since then. We also have JLP, PNP squabble over charter flight, referring to that same charter flight. Also, councillor wants vehicle issues at Port Maria Police Station addressed. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for some feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, how satisfied are you with the PTA at your child's school? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
May is Child Month, and Love in the Morning is celebrating all month long. Listen every Friday inside The Healthy Way as Dr. Lisa Franklin Banton, CEO of We Are Kids Pediatric Center, shares necessary knowledge on kids' health. Parents and caregivers come with your questions and state the knowledge. That's The Healthy Way Kids Edition with CEO of We Are Kids Pediatric Center, Dr. Lisa Franklin Banton, every Friday at 8:30 a.m. inside Love in the Morning on the family station, Love 101.
Love 101 presents Mother's Day Dress-alike competition, Twinning with Mom. Mothers and children, you are invited to dress alike, take a photo, and WhatsApp them to 876-432-5034 with the hashtag Twinning with Mom, and send it in for posting to our Love 101 social media pages at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Then, on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 12th, we will have a vibrant discussion on radio as our announcer and guests will talk up the things and announce the winner of our Mother's Day Dress-alike competition. There will be prizes for first, second, and third place winners. So get out your matching outfits, take lots of photos, and WhatsApp them to 876-432-5034 with the hashtag Twinning with Mom and get your picture liked on Love 101 social media pages. Tune in to hear if you won. Guess what? The picture with the most likes wins. Keep it locked to Love 101 FM, the family station.
This special Mother's Day, but I want to thank you every day of the year. Now
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley. Marshall, we go right into the second watch, and the topic is, where is the parent in the PTA? And schools continue to be a critical environment for a daily development, or for the daily development and education of children. And with recent, sometimes fatal incidents occurring in schools, regrettably, school is in some cases becoming a place of dread, not only for students, but even for the parents. And in some cases, parents are blaming teachers and the school administration as a whole for insensitivity and lack of or no response to concerns raised. Teachers are blaming parents for not parenting and being involved, and parents are blaming teachers. So where do the parent-teachers associations come in? We have as guests this morning a parent. She is not using her real name this morning. She's going by the name of Jasmine Jones, and just for the purpose of the program. And she is an executive member of a Parent Teachers Association. We also have the president of the Parent Teachers Association, Stuart Jacob. A garbled sound in the audio a moment ago. We're not too sure what caused that. We do apologize. So we have Stuart Jacobs, president of the National Parent Teachers Association, and a parent who is an executive member of a Parent Teachers Association. Good morning, parent, and good morning, Stuart Jacobs.
Good morning, Stokeley. Good morning. Thanks for having me again.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
parents.
No, I'm not going to take a particular question.
There's a feedback, Stokeley. I don't know where it's coming
When I
from.
look at what appears to be transpiring, it just raises the issue for me. Whose child or whose children are these? These children belong to their parents. It's just that they entrust their children to the school for a couple of hours a day. Jasmine Jones, as the name you have here, or going by, whose children are they?
Whose children are they?
Yes.
Funnily, we recently had a PTA meeting at the school that my son is attending. And one of the guidance counselors explained to the parents that there are no angels at school. When you drive up and you drop your child off, the child loses its wings and they step out. There's no angel coming out into the school. And that's what we need to recognize. The children come to school, they behave in manners that some of their parents, when they hear what the children are doing or how they're behaving, they're shocked.
Yeah.
And we need to recognize that. The teachers cannot manage large classrooms if we're sending children that are not prepared to learn. And that is a challenge that we face. The children are indisciplined, disrespectful, disobedient, and they're not, I'm not saying all, of course not, but when you have 3 or 4 or 5 in a class and they're disruptive and they're giving trouble, the parents have sent out children into the schools and these children are not prepared to settle down and they're disrupting the class and they're causing a problem. So they're our children and we cannot expect the schools to be the ones to be teaching, imparting knowledge and being disciplinarians, parents. It's just impossible. The teachers cannot do that.
We do apologize to the extent that you might be feedback on the line. Well, let us see if we can have that matter resolved. We do apologize again, listeners, if you're hearing a bit of a garbling in the line. Now, what is the Parent Teachers Association and its value to the school community? Stuart Jacob.
Stokely, first of all, let me begin by saying that a PTA is, by virtue of its existence, is an act of parliament. Through the Education Act of 1965 and regulations of 1980, a PTA is a nominated representative on the school board. Therefore, in order for a school board to be fully constituted, there should be a PTA representative on the board, sitting on the board to make decisions for the school. So let's get that established. So a PTA is a major stakeholder in a school. An effective PTA, let me say this, an effective PTA is a major stakeholder in a school. One, the PTA is a conduit between the parents, the students, the teachers, and the administration, because there are 3 pillars that really that really builds a PTA, and that is one: the PTA should support the administration, because by an extension you are a member of the school board, and the CEO of the school is a principal. So you ought to be supporting the principal on the programs that the principal has. The second thing that an effective PTA does is to see to the building of the infrastructure of that school, that institution. And the third is to see as best how to support the financial viability of that school. Now, an effective PTA must see itself as the extended village. You're not on a PTA, or the PTA doesn't exist for your child. It exists for all children registered and attending that school. Additionally,
Mr. Jacobs, only because of time, I think we're already upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Follow the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development on Instagram and X at LocalGovJA. The time by the ministry is
7:45.
Get busy with a Biscuit, Bisco, Bisboost with a JN Bank Bisco. You can't lose when you want to grow on your business too.
JN Bank Small Business Loans.
Some loan for you.
Helping you succeed is our business. Tell us your business and let's help you start it, grow it, or boost it. Borrow as low as $10,000 and up to 100 million Jamaican dollars. Enjoy flexible payment terms and affordable rates. Apply now. WhatsApp 876-295-1298. JN Bank. We'll help you find a way.
This Mother's Day, you have even more reasons to shower mom with love. Use your Sagicor Bank credit card to get her something special, and you could win up to $200,000 cash back. The more you spend on mom, the more chances you get to win. Make this Mother's Day a win-win. Use your Sagicor Bank credit card to show mom some love, and you could win up to $200,000 cash back. Sagicor Bank, the best rewards ever. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Well, if you want buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low, get it on my Bashco. Get it on my Bashco. 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 For everything with the need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed on a Bashco. Get it on my Bashco. Yeah. Bashco. Furniture for your house, including everything for your kitchen, box, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic is, where is the parent in the PTA? Our guests are Jasmine Jones, parent and executive member of a PTA. Jasmine Jones is not her real name, but she's using that name for the Morning Watch and this topic this morning. And we also have Stuart Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs is the president of the National Parent Teachers Association. Mr. Jones, just before the break, you're making a comment. Please continue, sir.
Yes, and so as a PTA evolves in a school, the PTA becomes that voice of the parent to the school board, the school administration, and also as a guide to other parents. And therefore, the effective PTA is expected to keep the school population abreast with what is happening, and to try to arrest some of these problems. In recent times, you would have seen an upsurge of violence in school amongst our children. And so this is where an effective PTA comes in, where the parents of those children can be looked at by members of the PTA, identifying other parents with skill sets or other persons within the school community with skill sets that could sit and counsel or guide the parents of the children that have been accused of being in the FACA and all of that, and to be that cushion, that voice of calm within the school. That's what the PTA is supposed to be doing. We do understand that there are some PTAs that might have issues throughout the country. What the NPTAJ does, and that's what the NPTAJ is designed for, is to go into those schools, and through our training and guidance, we will then take these executives, train them, and we have seen where tremendous improvement have been done in schools that we have gone to sit and do workshops with the parents, with the PTA, with the executive. Because what we do from time to time, we will do so. We will segment the executive, then we'll look at the fuller body of the PTA, and of course we always incorporate the school's administration to be a part of these workshops. The PTA at this time is most important to, well, it always is, but especially what is happening now. What is happening is the breakdown of behavior, courtesy, good manners is fading away right in front of our eyes. It's dissipating. And it is bothersome for many of us as parents because we are going to be doing our best to train. Some of us are going to do our best to train our children at home, and we expect that they will carry through when they reach the school. But there is a growing number of students who are not behaving accordingly. And so your children or your child is going to be bombarded and distracted with these behaviors. And the fear of going to school sometimes comes in. As parents, collectively, we need to sit and see how best we can manage this through the school's administration. Because a PT at no time at all is supposed to operate without the permit of the school's administration. Because on a dotted line, the PTA reports to the the principal, and a straight line they report to the school board. It's most important that this is understood throughout the island that a PTA is not a law unto itself. It is part of a school's administration. It's part of the makeup of a school, and therefore they must adhere to the rules of the school and the school's administration. Um, there is one other bothersome thing that is happening now is where some PT will take onto themselves as if they are union delegates. They are not a union. And recently we have seen in the news where a particular PT has gotten very brazen, I would want to say, to be taken on the principal of a school. It must be discouraged. It has to be discouraged. A PT taking a principal of a school to the media and the open space is not encouraged. What is encouraged is that as a PT, you sit with the school's administration, which meaning the principal, the vice principals, the senior teachers, the head of departments, the guidance counselors, and you have dialogue. You speak, you sift through the problems, and you fix it locally. If you think that as a PTA body you're not able to get through to the principal, then have it at the school board meeting. We're on the agenda. You have any other business, then you raise the matter and not be confrontational either. It should be one done with respect, with an open fairness, and allow both parties to listen. PTAs must not be adversarial. The life of a PTA is forever. However, your administration is until your tenure, your term lasts. And when it is ended, then it's ended. But you must leave a legacy. And one of the legacy as a strong, effective PT that you should lead and always leave is that you were able to be that PT that had an open door policy to the principalship of that school. I hate
So,
to see
Mr.
it happening in the public sphere.
Mr. Jacobs, you have said quite a lot there and a lot to think about. Jasmine Jones, what do you think about some of the things that Mr. Jacobs has indicated? In fact, Mr. Jacobs indicated that the behavior of children in schools has been heading south. Not the best behavior at all. And can you tell us a little bit as well about how PTAs are actually run? Who attends the meetings? Are the parents really showing up? And are the values, do PTAs value the input of the parents, generally speaking? And how do you guard against an executive of a PTA sort of just running the show as opposed to really taking on board the contributions of all parents? I know it's a mouthful of a question, Jasmine Jones, but help us.
You've asked quite a few questions. First, I'd like to say I'm in total agreement with everything Mr. Jacobs has said about the importance of the PTA and the role of the PTA. It's not supposed to be adversarial, it's supposed to be supportive. And what I was saying earlier is that the children that are now entering schools, they tend to be disruptive and indisciplined and disrespectful. I've been to schools, and if the children don't understand that they're supposed to be quiet in the classroom, a teacher comes in here to be quiet and respectful so everyone else can learn, right? Now, the parents at the school that I'm a part of, they have executive meetings every month, and the principal is a part of that meeting. And we have grade reps and class reps. So every grade level is represented at this executive meeting. We have a teacher representative.
If I may ask Jasmine Jones, in other words, PTAs are running away where the principal is present and you have other persons present. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And are parents turning out to these meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how are they? Well, when a parent makes an input into the meeting, tell us about that process. Because is it that, how do you guard against an executive sort of shutting out the input of a parent, even if they don't agree?
We have representatives for each year group, each year. So the person's job is to be responsible and to represent the parents' concerns. Okay. So sometimes some of the messages that come forward to the executive meeting, some things are worth addressing and other things are not. If it's something that relates to discipline or you're giving the children too much homework, and we recognize that whatever the school is doing is something that's going to help to build that child's character, prepare them for the working world, then it is discussed and it may be dismissed. But if it's a matter that the parents have brought that it requires the principal's intervention, that it is raised at the executive meeting, it is considered, it is discussed, and it is addressed. So I think where we are, it is important. We actually do have the parents who come to the executive meeting once a month, and they relate the matters that have come up from their classes. So we're talking, each grade rep is there speaking about the concerns. And then we have quarterly PTA meetings where all the parents are invited. Okay. And then we have extensive discussions at those meetings.
Thank you for that clarity. So you have executive meetings of the PTA vis-a-vis the wider PTA body meeting where all the parents turn up. Or all the parents should turn up.
Right. So quarterly meetings where all the parents are invited, and we have monthly meetings of the executive, which is just the groupings of one parent that represents an entire grade 7, one parent represents an entire grade 8. We'll have those parents present. So every grade 7 to 13 is represented in that executive meeting, as well as a teacher rep is there, and the principal is at that meeting. And it's important because that way the concerns are carried straight to the top. The principal hears the concerns of the grade group and addresses it.
So Jasmine Jones, how can what might be the current impasse be resolved, where parents seem to be blaming teachers and sometimes teachers seem to be blaming parents? Before we wrap.
More involvement of the parents. Parents need to come and volunteer to be a part of the program of the school. If they come in, they will see the challenges that the teachers face in the classroom. They'll see the level of indiscipline, and they will do their part. As was said by Stuart Jacobs, some parents have skills in special areas. It may be coaching, guidance. It may be just a specialized skill. Parents need to come in and be a part of the PTA, work with administration, understand what the teachers have to face every day with your child, and be a part of the change. Don't tear it down. Be a part of the difference.
And Jasmine Jones, before we wrap, what can be done to change the behavior of the students in your view?
It starts with good parenting. It starts at the home. And if they don't send children out who are prepared to study, then it's going to affect every child in the classroom who is trying to learn. It starts at the home.
I think we're totally out of time. Jasmine Jones and Mr. Jacobs, thank you both for your time and for your thoughts. Never enough time in the morning watch, but thank you so much for contributing this morning. This discussion is a very important one, and we do thank you for what you have shared with us today.
Most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being with us. And join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues, and visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs, and listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer Kathy Gale and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marsh. Behind your back, Love in the Morning with Chukal.
Thank you for listening to the Morning Watch. We also want to say thanks to Bashko and the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs for sponsoring the Morning Watch today. Time is now 8 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to Forward in Faith, brought to you by the New Testament